Hey, it's Fletch. Before we get started on today's episode, I wanted to make you aware of some important additional information. There are a couple of white papers and an important user survey. Everything is available at the URL shown here or by scanning the QR code below. Okay, let's go.
All right, let's do this.
Well, we've officially reached that point in society where a teenager being separated from a cell phone for 6 hours is treated somewhere between a constitutional crisis and an extinction-level event. But behind the eye rolls, confiscation bins, and that one kid still trying to text under the hoodie, there's actually a very serious public safety question hiding in plain sight. And that's coming up next on TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm a NENA certified ENP. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week, I bring you the latest news and information about public safety and next generation 911 services and solutions. Today we're talking about cell phone bans during the school day as a way of stopping distractions. But do they cut off communications in an emergency? Look, let's be honest, cell phones are no longer some optional gadget that people carry around for fun. They're part of daily life. For adults, they're our camera, our calculator, GPS, and flashlight. Our shopping lists, our appointment book, and our panic button and weather alert monitor. And unfortunately, sometimes our excuse for ignoring people in public. Now, for kids, especially students, it's no different. Whether we like it or not, that device is part of their normal world. It's also how they communicate, how they learn things, and how they socialize. And yes, how they occasionally pretend to be paying attention in class while absolutely not paying attention in class. Now, let's be fair to the schools here. This isn't some imaginary problem that's been cooked up by cranky adults who miss the chalkboards and overhead projectors. Phones can be a huge distraction. Texting in class, social media drama, bullying, cheating, recording teachers, recording other students, doom scrolling during biology, and most likely buying sneakers online while somebody's trying to explain fractions. Yeah, it's a mess. So I completely understand why many schools have gone full bell to bell with their bans. Put the phone away when school starts and don't touch it again until the bell rings. On paper, that sounds clean, simple, and totally enforceable. And from an education standpoint, I get it. You cannot compete for a student's attention when their phone is basically a slot machine sitting in their pocket. But here's where public safety walks into the room and clears its throat. We're living in a time where active shooter events, medical emergencies, fights, lockdowns, and other critical incidents are all part of the school safety conversation, whether we like that fact or not. Parents know it, students know it, staff knows it, and that is what changes the emotional math. Parents want to be able to hear from their kids, especially in an emergency. Kids want to be able to reach a parent. And in a real emergency, some students may be in a hallway, or on the athletic field, in a remote wing or on a bus loop, or tucked away in some corner of the campus where there is no convenient classroom phone, sitting there and waiting like it's 1987. That's the part that some policy people miss. A cell phone in school may be a distraction at 10:15 in math class, but at 10:17 during a crisis, it may suddenly become the only communications lifeline a kid has. And now you have the problem. While one side says phones are hurting education, discipline, attention span, and student behavior, and they're not wrong. The other side says cutting off a student's ability to communicate during an emergency is a terrible idea, and they're not wrong either. So welcome to modern policy making, where both sides can be right and everybody still leaves the room irritated. This is why I think the real answer is not just a lazy policy. It just can't be ban everything or allow everything. Those are easy slogans, not smart solutions. And this is where the concept of school mode starts getting interesting. The Safer Buildings Coalition has actually been talking about this concept that could help create a middle ground. Imagine a smart device behavior profile that changes based on location and circumstance. Tie that to a geo-fenced school property and you're starting to get a path forward. In plain English, the phone knows it's in school. So maybe during normal school hours, most of the phone's nonsense gets locked down. Things like social media, games, random distractions. All that digital cotton candy that turns attention spans into mashed potatoes. But emergency functions stay active. Things like 911 access, location services, approved safety apps, emergency alerts, and even maybe a very tightly regulated parent communication mode, usable when a real incident occurs. Now, all that starts sounding a lot less like fantasy and more like an actual grown-up solution. Because the goal shouldn't be to pretend that the device doesn't exist. That ship sailed years ago, probably while someone was filming a TikTok in the cafeteria. The goal should be to manage the device intelligently, without kneecapping emergency communications. Oh, and let me add one more thing. Whatever the solution, the issue deserves real study, real pilot programs, and real technical discussions. But it doesn't deserve to be trapped in committee for the next 5 to 10 years while everybody writes their white papers and congratulates themselves on forming their task force. Kids are in school now. Parents are worried now. Emergency communications gaps exist now. As do the problems with distraction. So, no, this isn't an easy issue. Not by any means. But it's absolutely a solvable one if we stop treating it like a culture war and start treating it like what it really is, a safety and operations design problem. And quite frankly, that's what public safety does best when it's at its best. We look at the real messy real-world problems, then strip away all the nonsense and build systems that work when people need them the most. That wraps up this episode of TiPS, Today in Public Safety. I hope the podcast was educational for you and we raised a little awareness on something new. If you like what you heard today, please drop a like and be sure to tell your friends. And don't forget to leave a comment and let us know. If you have any questions or want to suggest a topic of your own, just reach out to me at Fletch911 on social media. Who knows? Maybe your idea will be at the core of a future podcast. Thanks for spending some time with me, and if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG 911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.